again, it's Anne. I hope you've been enjoying Blended 101 so far. So now we're going to be moving on to using Google Docs in your blended classroom. Google Docs is a great tool for teaching and learning. As part of the Google Apps for Education suite, Docs is a cornerstone in any blended classroom. Now, always we assign our students to write, whether it's essays, papers, research assignments, lab reports, anything you can think of. We want our students to write, and we want them to write well. Now, we've always had them write their papers on a variety of different word processing programs. Now, if you're like me and you went to school in the 90s, high school in the early 90s, you probably typed it on an old-fashioned typewriter. With Google Docs, these assignments truly are interactive and become very collaborative in nature. Many teachers want students to interact with texts, for examples, novels, primary sources, storybooks. These same teachers also want students to work together. So why not use Google Docs to make this happen? Many of you might be using Google Docs already, and you're just sort of looking for different ideas on how to use it. Maybe you're looking for some technical advice, and I am more than happy to have you move on to my course called Google Apps for Education. That will be up and running soon. And take a look at that, take a look at the syllabus and see what you think, if that will suit your needs. This lesson is a very basic lesson. I'm going to give you two. The first one is a lesson that has students working together. So you have students work in pairs or in small groups. I would advise no more than 3 or 4 for this particular assignment. Have the students create one shared doc among each other, including sharing that document with you. Then have each student read the teacher-assigned text. So whatever you have assigned for them to read, whether it's a primary source or a chapter in To Kill a Mockingbird or a storybook about Harold and the Purple Crayon, have them read that piece of writing. Then have each student pull out quotes that have meaning to them. So you know how you want students to annotate some sort of piece of literature. So I will leave that piece up to you. But have them pull out quotes in the manner that you want them to and for the reasons that you want them to. Have them type it on the doc on one side of the paper. On the other side of the page, have each student make comments about what they thought was interesting to that, why they chose that quote. Once this step is completed, have the students comment on one another's excerpts, their quotes, and their comments. So you've created this big, huge text annotation. And it really is a case of, more heads are better than one, because students will realize that their fellow classmate looked at a piece of text differently than they did. And they might say, oh, I never thought of it that way, or I didn't see that at all. And so what grows out of a shared document is this discussion that they'll have after completing this assignment. As a shared collaborator on that same document, you have the opportunity to check in on them and make sure they're doing the correct work instead of just talking about last night's soccer championship game or the latest party or their newest sneakers. All of that can sort of be put a stop to because you can peek in on what they're doing with their Google Doc. The second lesson is an individual student lesson. Again, assign a piece of writing. I really like to do this with the college admissions essay for my seniors. It really does help them and gives them immediate feedback. So have the students, once again, create a shared doc with you, and they'll start writing their first draft. And you walk them through the writing process any way you see fit, any way that you would normally do it. So you're not really leaving your traditional method of teaching writing. You're just sort of upping the ante a little bit with this new shared document. Have them write their first draft, and you can have them do this during class. You can have them do it for homework. I've done it both ways, and I like it both ways. It just sort of depends on my mood and sort of my, what I've got going for grading and the students. Maybe they need a little bit more prodding to do the writing, so I have them do it in class. That's totally up to you. As a collaborator on the document, you can insert your comments along the way. So you can write, thesis needs tightening up. You need to give a better rationale for this reason. You need to tighten up your grammar here. Watch spelling, watch capitalization, whatever happens to be your comments, you can type that in along the way. You can also voice record your comments if you want to, which is a great newer feature to Google Docs, which I think is just amazing to use. I've used it a couple of times, and it really does sort of make a connection with students outside of class. And then they are going, oh, there goes Mrs. Coates again, giving me advice on my grammar. So it's just a sort of another kind of interesting way to connect with students. One of my favorite features is that you can view the evolution of the drafts with just one click. And that is a great feature. You can see where they've come from, where they went, and then, where they are now. And you can just look at that. And you can ask them, maybe you need to revert back to your third draft of this paragraph because it was so much more interesting or well written, or you gave great points. And so it really does enable you to really make the writing process richer than just draft after draft after draft, off of a typewriter or a word processor or whatever it happens to be. So I hope you've gotten a little bit more information about Google Docs in this lecture. Any questions, please let me know, and I will talk with you soon. Take care.